After the end of First World War, America emerged as a superpower. And since then, America has always used two tools to foster its global hegemony. One is its military might, and the other is the US dollar. And that's why whoever tried to break its dependence on the US dollar faced sanctions and invasions. What will happen if a big power like Russia or China attempts to do so? It might result in a world war.
Nuclear peace deal, it wasn't really about Iran creating nuclear weapons to, destroy the United States. It was more about getting into the central bank, getting into the oil, putting the dollar on their oil.
In 1974, OPEC agreed that they will sell oil only for gold. And since then, the demand for dollar has always remained high, and that's the birth of Petro-Dollar, the oil-backed dollar. And this Petro-Dollar is the foundation of American economic hegemony.
The petrodollar is actually a device invented by Kissinger and Nixon.
So in 1971, OPEC agreed that they would sell oil for only US dollars. You cannot buy oil unless you pay for it with US dollars. And that's when the US dollar became a petrodollar.
Till now, we have seen that petrodollar is a dollar which the oil importing countries are forced to purchase to get oil. If that had not been the case, dollar could not have survived. And this petrodollar was the primary reason behind the invasion of Libya and Iraq. In November 2000, Iraq started to sell its oil for euros instead of dollars. It was a direct attack on the US dollar. In 2003, America invaded Iraq, and as soon as they have taken control of Iraq, the sale of oil was immediately switched from euros to dollars.
But some are convinced intervention in Libya is all about currency, specifically Gaddafi's plan to introduce the gold dinar, a single African currency made from gold, a true sharing of the wealth.
It's one of these things that you have to plan almost in secret, because as soon as you say you're going to change over from the dollar to something else, you're going to be targeted.
It's happened before. In 2000, Saddam Hussein announced Iraqi oil would be traded in euros, not dollars. Sanctions and an invasion followed.
Why was Muammar Gaddafi killed? Muammar Gaddafi was murdered because he, along with the other African heads of state, were about to bring into existence Africa's first central bank. They were erecting a central bank in Africa, which was going to do what? Back its money to the resources under the ground in Africa. Now, what would that have done to the global economic order? Remember, the United States dollar isn't backed on any natural resource. The British pound isn't backed on any natural resource. The Canadian dollar, the European Union, their currency isn't backed on any natural resource because Europe doesn't have a lot of natural resources. Africa does. So if they would have been successful in creating a central bank of Africa, coming up with a unitary currency, and then backing that currency to the material wealth under the soil, they would have bankrupted every other economic system in this world, from America to Europe to China. That was revolution, and that's why Muammar Gaddafi had to be assassinated.
After dealing with Iraq and Libya, there is another threat rising for the US dollar, but this time it is not a weak power like Iraq and Libya. This time it is the rising military and economic power China, which is threatening the US global hegemony. China, which is also the top oil importer, is preparing to launch a crude oil contract denominated in Chinese yuan and convertible into gold, and the move is fully backed by Russia.
And so Russia and China have come together, and then came BRICS, with Russia leading the way in challenging the petrodollar monetary system. Russia, because Russia has stood up, China has said, we with you. Otherwise, China couldn't stand alone. No, China could not have stood up alone. China and Russia are refusing to bow their knees before the greatest oppressors that mankind has ever known. And because they're refusing to bend their knees, this is why the world is going to experience nuclear war.
The joint threat of China and Russia will force America to fight in defense of the US dollar, but a direct confrontation with China or Russia seems impossible, because that will be disastrous for America as well. And that's why big powers like America and Russia always chooses small countries like Syria as their battleground. In future, the joint forces of China and Russia will be forcing the joint forces of America and the European countries in another small country. Please press the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel Khanwits to watch the next part of this series, which will be released next week.